have to do what they tell us to do. 12,000 school teachers, literally, the vast, over 90%, I will not sign, and what they were to ask, they were to state why. And the common answer was, I will continue to teach my students as I have in the past, period. Well, in March of 1942, every school in Norway was shut down, and 1 teacher in 10, they didn't attempt to imprison 12,000 teachers, but they imprisoned 1 in 10, 1,200. And they imprisoned them in a camp at Kirkenes. If you're familiar with the maps of Norway, Kirkenes is the furthest north city in the world. It borders Russia. It's right on top of Norway, on the east side, on the top of Norway. Germany realized, and then Germany would tell these teachers, all you have to do is sign a statement and we'll let you free. Literally none of them signed a statement. They stayed there until they were released. After a while, the Germans relented and let them go. Mainly because they refused to comply. They would have tolerated prison camp rather than signing a statement, I support the German occupation of Norway. So that's part of what they did. Now, as far as Norwegians required to identify Jews, we'll talk more and more about that. But I can tell you that, well, I'll tell you right now, that, well, let me just read from the back of this. There was a Norwegian clergy who made an effort to contact every Lutheran minister in Norway. Now this was even after the churches were shut down. Even after they were shut down. This is the statement that was given to clergy, and this was a statement that was passed out in pamphlet form throughout Norway. And this was done in October 27, 1942, after Quisling announced that Jews were to be rounded up. And this is the simple statement. For 91 years, Jews had a legal right to reside and earn a livelihood in our country. Now they are being deprived of their property without warning, and thereafter the men are being arrested and thus prevented from providing for their propertyless wives and children. This conflicts not only with the Christian commandment of love thy neighbor, but with the most elemental of legal rights. These Jews have not been charged with any transgressions of the country's laws, and much less convicted of such transgressions by judicial procedure. Nevertheless, they are being punished because of their racial background, wholly and solely because they are Jews. This affirmation by the authorities of the Jews' worth as human beings is in sharp conflict with the Word of God, which from cover to cover proclaims all racial groups to be of one blood. Anyway, what basically happened was that the Germans did not yield an inch on that, and when the crunch finally hit, what had to happen was that the Jews had to leave Norway. And the only escape was Sweden for the Jews. So the majority of Jews were transported to Sweden, which as you know, was neutral, but they accepted all of them, many from Denmark as well, but they accepted all of those that got over there. Some Jews were caught, and the penalty for being caught as a Jew was death, and the penalty for a Norwegian assisting a Jew was death. And so that did occur as well. But the majority of Jews escaped, and the majority of Norwegians who helped the Jews escape survived also. But that's just one of the dark elements of the story. One of the last times I went to Norway, I visited I normally visit both the Norwegian Resistance Museum in Oslo, and also the one that's near Bergen in a place called Tellevåg. And the one in Tellevåg has the most information about the Shetland bus, which we'll talk about, and also both of them have substantial information about the Jewish situation and the effort of the Norwegians to help the Jews. The best information I got about the situation with the Jews, the resistance of the Norwegians to protect the Jews, and their escape was from the museum in Telleflot, Norway. I refer to that in the book. Frankly, my brother attends church, I do, my wife does. If the Norwegians did not do that, I would have dropped out. Personally, I would have dropped out of church. But the fact that they did that made me understand that there is something to the faith that we talk about that's worth standing up for. And they did, and I'm pleased to say that. Okay, I don't know if you can read this or not, but the question is, why did Germany attack Norway? From a straight military point of view, they were correct. I mean, I don't recommend war at all. From a military point of view, they had a reason to attack Norway. There's several reasons. Number one is to provide absolute protection for the harbor at Narvik, and thus ensure access to Swedish steel. Sweden has the best quality steel in the world. I've had Swedes tell me that, who are in the industry of steel in Sweden. The Germans clearly believe that. More than 90% of the steel and iron ore that Germany got in the 30s and 40s came out of Sweden. It came out of northern Sweden, and the closest harbor was Narvik. The deep, safe harbor at Narvik is only 27 miles from Sweden, and literally 30-35 miles from the major iron ores in Sweden. So Germany was able to get shipments of iron ore uninterrupted throughout the war once they invaded Norway. So that was one reason. Number two is to obtain excellent protection for German warships within the fjords and harbors of Norway. Germany has no protected harbors at all. If you travel to Germany, it's flat. The harbors are flat. It would have been easy for the U.S. and for the British to bomb anything in the harbors of Germany once they got past, the anti-airplane stuff. But the deep fjords, the incredible cliffs and mountains and fjords around them meant that Norway was the safest place in the world to hide a ship. Three, they used the long coastline of Norway as a base to attack North Atlantic convoy traffic. Ed and I and my mother and others on a Norwegian fishing boat when we escaped, the boats that attacked us were based in Norway, German boats based in Norway. The German airplanes that attacked us came out of air bases in Norway, and that was just part of that. Now, German military leaders, particularly Hitler, expected that Norway would be the site of a massive Allied counteroffensive against Germany. Hitler did not believe that the Allied invasion would be France. That's, of course, where it was. Hitler thought it would be Norway, so that was another reason for the German attack.